So I'm here with my phone, and I'm like really excited. Still in my pajamas. I was with sisters, but went back with my mom. She was in here watching TV, so that's why I saw little kids shows on. Oh my god, that was something. Okay, this is gonna kill me. If you see me die, remember, I was doing something very stupid. Dun, dun, dun. Ah. Ow. I decided that I'm gonna read a book that I read in school called Chilling Visions. Knows what this folder is for. So yeah. I'm also working on Chilling Visions 2, but I wrote this book also. This is Chilling Visions 2. Help me on the front. What is actual fake blood. I would not use real blood in one of my books. And I don't want to make this a graphic video. I just want to show you. And make sure that you know that was not fake blood. I mean fake blood, yeah. It was fake. Fake. Here's my book. Chilling Visions. Chapter 1. Hell for Alice. It's just a little girl named Alice, so here we go. Alice is a 6-year-old girl who has horrifying visions. Alice finally told her mom and dad about them, hoping they would help and understand her problems. But they said she was crazy. They put her in an insane asylum. She would always try to make those people understand she wasn't crazy. These were real. Still, they didn't believe her, the poor girl. She would see that every second of every day she would see that the visions were getting worse every second of every day. Asylum doctors think she's so crazy they were trying to give her shock therapy. She had to escape. So she went to lunchtime and found a tunnel and found a newspaper, and it said the mysterious death of Derek Terrorberg, which was her father's name. And before that, she had a vision of her father dying of unknown reasons. She had another vision of a massacre where her sister was shot in it. And the next day's newspaper came in. It said, massacre in Stony Brook. Victims include. Then it said one of the victims was her sister, Emily Terrorberg. She was so scared. She thought she was going to be next. Chapter 2. Plan B to escape. Alice was brought back to her cell by a doctor that found her in the tunnels. She cried for weeks while she made a new plan to escape from that horrid place. Alice came up with a new plan. She was going to say she didn't feel so good. But she didn't feel so good so they could see what she was. So she could go to the nurse because it had a vent that leads to outside. So that is what she did. When the nurse walked away, she went into the vent and got outside. She ran until she found her house. Alice went inside, and what she saw was horrifying. Chapter 3. Mom and Dad? Mom? Dad? Alice saw the bodies of her mom and dad. In her mom's hand, she found a note saying that the thing that killed her parents wasn't her visions. It was the ghost of the man who lived in the house before her family did. He was an escaped psychopath who escaped from the same mental asylum that she was in. In that house, he was shot down. Alice cried as she read the note. Chapter 4. More visions. Alice wasn't having visions of death anymore, but she started seeing the ghost of the man. Then, she looked around the house, and the man appeared out of nowhere with a knife covered in blood. Chapter 5. Ghost Man? Or it's called Ghosts. Alice screamed as loud as she could, and the ghost disappeared. Then, she went into her bedroom. She looked in her closet and found the head of her sister hanging off a coat hanger. She closed the closet doors and ran out of the room. The ghost appeared, except he spoke, saying, "It's your turn." Alice screamed and said, "No, leave me alone." She cried, but when she wiped her eyes, there was blood on her hands. She ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. She ran in the bathroom and looked in the mirror. Chapter 6. Scary Reflection. When Alice looked in the mirror, she saw her eyes were gone with blood spilling out. Then she saw the ghost in the mirror just staring at her. As Alice was looking in the mirror, she closed her eyes real tight and said, "This isn't real." And as she opened her eyes, it all disappeared. But as she was walking down the stairs, she heard a person crying, but she saw it was a ghost. And he said, "You killed them." "What are you talking about?" Alice said, "What are you talking about?" The ghost said, "You killed your family." As she visioned back to when her mom and dad was in bed, she was standing right there with a knife, and she realized it was her that killed her whole family. Then she laughed and started saying the evil words that Beyonce apparently said. I'm not saying that because it's apparently words that if you say, that the devil can come and that you're basically saying, "I transfer my soul and give it to the devil," basically, I think. Then she started laughing and said, "I am the psycho." Chapter 7. Why? Chapter 7. Why? Alice turned even more insane by the second. So the ghost grabbed the mallet and hit her head and knocked her out. When she woke up, she was restrained in the asylum with a shock therapy, and a shock therapy cap on her head. Alice tried to scream, but the gag was in her mouth. The doctor started the shock machine up, and she pleaded for her life and cried. When they took her to the cell, she begged for mercy. She screamed, "Why are you doing this to me?" The doctor said, "Because you killed your whole family and you're crazy." I said, "No, I'm not. Please stop, please." The doctor kept Alice restrained. She squirmed around trying to escape. The doctor left the cell, and Alice screamed and said, "Help someone, please help me." As she felt something inside her head, the ghost appeared again and said, "It's the only way," as he handed Alice a knife covered with blood. Alice thought, "Why is this the only way?" as she grabbed the knife, the bloody knife. She thought that he would go away. Chapter 8, Birthday Psycho. 10 years later, on Alice's birthday, Alice was now 16. She went to the asylum when she was 6 years old. She's now 16 years old. And still in the asylum. Alice has not seen the ghost in years since she was 6. That day, the doctor came in the cell to do a test. Every year on her birthday, the doctors have Alice take a test to see if she could leave. Well, after the test, the doctors like to look at the results. She can leave now. Alice was pleased to hear that she was free. After 10 years, she's finally free from that horrid place. When Alice left the asylum, she called her aunt, who didn't believe she was crazy at first, and asked if she could live there. Her aunt said, of course. Alice was now happy. Chapter 9, They All Know. Look at this. They all know. Alice visited the town she used to live in. Everyone wouldn't even look at her until a little girl came up to Alice and said hi. But the little girl's mom came out and said, "Don't talk to her. She might kill you." The little girl cried and ran inside their house. Alice started to hear people in her head say, "Kill them." Alice tried to ignore it. Her aunt went to the car and said, "You coming, dear?" Alice said, "In a minute, just gonna walk." Her aunt said, "Okay." Chapter 10, Should I? Alice went to that woman's house with a knife and murdered the woman and said to the little girl, "I'm sorry, follow me." Then the little girl followed Alice. Alice said, "I will take good care of you." The little girl smiled at Alice and said, "Thank you." Chapter 11, More Years. 10 more years later, Alice is now 26 and the girl is 10 years old. Wait a minute. It's now 26. The girl was a baby, but she was learning to speak, so she's 10 years old now. Alice raised the girl as her own when she was old enough, 20 years old, she was 20 years old when she finally did it, because she was old enough at 18, but she was like, I'll just get used to it, having her here first. And named her Alexis. Alexis loved her new mom in the house until one day. Alice was washing the dishes, and one day Alexis came in and said, "Mommy, look at the picture I drew." Alice looked at the picture and felt her eyes widen in horror as she saw the drawing was of the ghost of the man. Chapter 12, What's Going On? The book's almost over, guys. 14 pages long, I think. Yeah, no, 13 pages. And there's 14 chapters on chapter 12, so there's 2 more chapters left. Okay. Chapter 12, What's Going On? Alice screamed at the top of her lungs as she looked at the picture. Her daughter Alexis said, "Mommy, it's my imaginary friend." Alice said, "No, it's a very bad man." Alexis said, "He is not bad." Alice was horrified as Alexis' eyes were turning red. And then Alexis said, "His name is Mr. Psycho." Alice screamed and threw and locked Alexis in her room while she called a priest. When the priest arrived, Alice said, "I don't know what is wrong with her." The priest said, "I'll do my best to help her." Alice was walking around the room until upstairs in Alexis' room. Alice went upstairs, terrified of which, until upstairs in Alexis' room. Alice suddenly got quiet. Alice went upstairs, terrified of what she saw. Chapter 13. Who are you? Alice saw the priest dead on the floor. In the nightgown Alexis was wearing had fresh droplets of blood. And Alice screamed in horror. Alexis jumped and pulled out a knife and said Mr. Psycho wants to play hide and go die. Alice screamed and said, "You're not Alexis, who are you?" She said, "Mommy, it's me." Alice said, I said, "Tell me who you are." Alexis said, "Mr. Psycho says you're next." After that, Alexis stabbed Alice 20 times, with Alice's last words being, "He is Mr. Psycho." Then, Alice died. The picture says Alice Terrorberg, 1974 to 2000. After that, Alexis stabbed herself 50 times, also killed herself. Then someone came in the house and she saw Alice and Alexis on the floor in a giant pool of blood. In the blood, she saw a note spelled with someone's finger saying, "He is Mr. Psycho." She screamed, and then when she saw the bodies, and it scared her to death. But I'll be right back. The book's not over. I have one more page left. I need to be right back. The last page is chapter 14, The Legends. Legend says, no one ever found the bodies of Alice and Alexis after the woman. But if you enter the old house, you will die. People say that if you light a candle in one hand and have a knife in the other, and say he is Mr. Psycho 26 times from the age Alice was, and say he had a friend 10 times from the age Alexis was, that the spirits of Alice and Alexis will find you and kill you. To be continued. Thanks for reading Chilling Visions 2. Thanks for reading Chilling Visions 2, Return of Alice and Alexis. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the book. I really enjoy reading to you. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, leave a comment for the next video idea that I should do. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next video. Bye.